Hi and welcome to the Adelaide Horror Podcast. This is your host, Zombie Joe, and this is episode 3. And today I'm going to be talking about Australian horror. So I'm going to be reviewing one movie and then the other following Australian movie that was the love letter to this one. So that is 1984 Razorback, which is this one here. Kooky little side note: Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie. When he saw it, and then that pretty much began his love for Aussie exploitation movies, and then that's why we got pearlers like, you know, the Grindhouse movies, where he went together with Robert Rodriguez and started pumping out these, you know, kind of fake Grindhouse movie trailers and all that kind of stuff, all because of Razorback and his love for Aussie exploitation movies. So that's pretty cool. Good to know. So Razorback 1984, I didn't get to see this until later in my mid-teens. I was probably about 16 or 17 when I saw this, and my local video shop managed to get it. And yeah, so I was able to hire it with the other group of VHS tapes and sat down and plowed through them. The reason why I hired Razorback was because growing up as a kid, I mean, this is 84, so, you know, later on in my, 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of year brackets, when you're around other kids and that were older than you, they always referred to Razorback, and it always intrigued me about this giant pig that ate people, and I was like, holy moly, like, you know, I couldn't get my head around it. I thought, what a way to go, like, you know. So yeah, it was. It always piqued my interest, but then, you know, like all things, you get distracted or you forget about it, and time passes, and then you get reminded again, and it just kind of went like this. And this is basically the relationship that I had with Razorback until finally I said, no, I'm gonna bloody get my hands on it and watch it. And so that's what happened in my mid-teens, and I liked it. My first impression was like, yeah, it's all right, because at the time I was getting spoilt for choice by other horror movies, so it didn't really kind of jump at me. So 16-year-old horror-loving Joe as opposed to 40-year-old horror-loving Joe are two different beasts. So I kind of, watching it now as an older, refined gentleman, I retract that statement. Looking back at it now as a 40-year-old, I kind of appreciated what I was trying to do. I appreciate what the movie was trying to do. So it was good. It was written by Everett DeRouche and directed by Russell McCarthy. Now, he went on to do Highlander, and he also directed Resident Evil Extinction, and he did the TV show Teen Wolf in the about 2011 to 2017. So that was the American TV show that was showed here in Australia as well, and that was really good. I like that, and Highlander as well. That was an awesome movie. So yeah, so he's responsible for directing those. And like Everett DeRouche was he wrote the screenplay for Patrick, which is 1979. That was based in Melbourne, I believe, and that was an Australian horror movie as well. And yeah, it didn't really get my attention, hence why it's not being reviewed, but I'd recommend checking it out. I'm not going to knock it. So Patrick 1979, that's an Australian horror movie there, so if you want to have a look at that, you can. Just not my thing. And it was also pretty much a writer on a lot of Australian TV shows in the 80s and 90s. So for international watchers, I'm not going to ramble off what they are, because you just won't know what they are. Simple as that. Budget was $5,500,000, and it grossed globally $150 million and 140,000. So that's pretty good. I'd love that in my bank account. Runtime was 1 hour and 35, and that includes credits. IMDb, as usual, gave it an absolute score out of 6 out of 10. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. So, like I said, it's a, what are we now? 84. It's a 35 plus year old movie, and it holds up. It still holds up. It's so I don't know why the bad score, but anyway, some practical effects do drop, and you're going to get that in a movie that's going to age, but it's not completely bad. So yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 easy. The release date, now we got it in Australia first on the 19th of April 84, and America got it in the 16th of November 84. So we've got 2 American actors in it. Their character names are Carl and Beth Williams, played by Gregory Harrison and Judy Morris, and they, like I said, are an American couple. The wife is a journalist, and she's getting sent to Australia to cover a story on kangaroos, and that's why she comes to Australia. Carl Winters is her husband, and then later comes to Australia to find where his wife has gone, because she goes missing in the movie. Bill Kerr and Archie Whiteley are the 2 Australian farmer and farmhand relationship that they have. At the start of the movie, Farmer Jake, his grandson, is taken by the Razorback, by literally having the Razorback go through the farmhouse, like literally through the farmhouse. That's how massive this thing is. It's got this intense scream, and it just plows through houses like it's, like they're made of paper. It's pretty terrifying. So unfortunately, it's gone from one end of the house to the other end of the house, and in the way of that is Farmer Jake's grandson's nursery. So it goes through the whole entire house and out the other way. So you see the nursery is all destroyed, and the crib is all destroyed as well. So, and no baby. So it's suggested that the baby is taken. So if that is if anyone's watching this and that's a trigger for you, you probably it's gonna occur. So you do have the option of skipping forward on that with your remote if that's gonna upset you or that triggers anything for you. So there's that warning, the trigger warning there. So eventually what ends up happening is Jake goes on trial for that, and he's obviously cleared because it's pretty explanatory. But he's haunted by what's happened, and he's angered by what's happened, which is fair enough, and he's just dedicated to hunting this thing down and killing it once and for all to take revenge. He has a farmhand who's Archie, and she works around the farm, just giving him a hand, and eventually ends up helping him hunt the Razorback as well in the movie. And so when Beth Winters comes to the country town, she pretty much starts annoying everyone. I don't know intentionally, but country. I've had a run in. Like I'm an Aussie, and I've had a run in country towns where they've looked at me, and I've got the earrings or different colour glasses or whatever. It's kind of made them comment, oh, city people are weird. It's just kind of bizarre, like their mentality. I'm not saying they're all like that, but if I could do it and I wasn't, doing anything in particularly weird, to get that comment. But Beth Williams obviously started ruffling a few feathers, going around saying, it's not right about doing this to kangaroos and all this kind of stuff, and the local farmers are kind of saying, well, they're destroying our fences, and there's perfectly good reasons why we're culling kangaroos. And we've got an outsider, and plus that, someone from overseas who doesn't know what's going on, telling us how to live our life. So instantly she starts pissing everyone off, including Farmer Jake, because she sees the Land Rover at the back, and the Land Cruiser, sorry, and sees these giant hooks on it, and that's where he hooks the bodies up on, and she's like horrified by that, and they have a bit of an argument. So she's kind of not very welcomed in this town by doing what she's doing, and then eventually falls prey to some kind of intense bullying by 2 guys at a bar called Billy, Dicko and Benny, played by David Argue and Chris Haywood. These guys are that crazy passive aggressive. One minute they're nice, the next minute they're just in your face, and they're just they're just crazy. They're nuts. Like they're like the US people would call them rednecks. We call them bogans. They're just loose. They're absolutely loose. and so she ends up falling kind of, being bullied by these guys in one scene, and then the Razorback comes out. There is a trigger warning for that scene. There is an attempted rape on her. And you know what is about to happen. It's very confronting. So if that triggers you as well, or that upsets you, please skip that scene, because it is, like I said, quite confronting. It was the 1980s. They don't hold back. Like there's it's quite full on. So if you are affected by that, please do skip forward. It's not something pretty good to watch. So, and you can skip it without, wrecking a story plot. So because Beth's a no-show, like with answering calls and stuff, Carl gets concerned, and he flies to Australia to try and find her and catch up with her. And then this section part of the movie is pretty much him just going through the town and meeting all the characters, and them just trying to bum steer him away from the town, and not really giving him straight answers, and being really vague, because they're annoyed at Beth, and so he is getting quite annoyed, and he meets up with Farmer Jake, and they work together in trying to find Beth, and also at the same time hunt the Razorback, which has terrorized the town. It's already attacked a few people by that point. So that's pretty much the story plot there. There's a big showdown at the end with Carl and Archie in the abattoir where Benny and Chris work. Benny and Dicko work, and so it's quite memorable, that final fight scene, and that's really where you get a good look at the Razorback as well. You're only getting parts of this Razorback for the whole entire movie. You're not seeing the whole thing, and then at the end you see the whole entire thing, and you're like, oh my god, like it was really well done how they kept it in the shadows for that long. You only saw snippets of it, but you understood this thing was massive, because like there was that scene where you'd see the actor, the person that was about to get attacked, and then you'd see the mouth, or you see the tusk, or you see the side of its face, and that gave you the measurement of how big this thing is, like in perspective of the person just prior to being attacked. So that was a good effect there visually, to show you how full on it is. Like I said, some of the practical effects hold up, some of the other practical effects don't hold up. I don't know, each to their own. If that's going to make you rage quit a movie, I mean, well, that's you. I can't really do anything about that. So yes, that is that. That's Razorback 1984. There is a sequence in there. When I was researching this, I was kind of like, damn, like there's this bit where Carl doesn't have a lot of water, and he's kind of struggling, and the Aussie heat's starting to cook him, so he's starting to hallucinate because he's dehydrated, and it goes into this really weird, and it looked like an 80s film, like an 80s music video, and I thought, holy shit, like this is something like out of Flock of Seagulls or something. And I look up, and lo and behold, he actually does direct 80s music videos. So I was like, well, there you go. That explains it. So you will enjoy that kind of trippy sequence in the middle of the movie. I won't spoil it. You will enjoy it, and it is weird. It is weird. So that's pretty cool. So I can see why Tarantino kind of liked this movie. I mean, if it was that bad, Tarantino wouldn't like it. So, the fact that it got 6 out of 10 was a bit of a joke. So yeah, you'll enjoy it. So 1984 Razorback. You can, like I said, I purchased it off JB Hi-Fi, which is here in Australia. They're kind of like a video, sound and vision place. If you go online overseas, I'm sure you'd be able to kind of track something down for your region to be able to purchase it, either on Amazon or eBay, I'm sure. Or I don't know, for Canadian viewers and American viewers that have Shudder, that are lucky enough to have it. I'm not sure if Razorback will be on Shudder, but just have a check, see if it's been released on there. So I hope it is, and you can enjoy it. So cool. The next movie I'm going to move on to is Boar, 2018, and this, like I said, is the love letter to Razorback. Even the angle when Razorback was attacking people, this was the angle that you'd see the pig come in at. So it's pretty deliberate that this is how the visual for Boar is. It's the nod right down to the cover art. That's how you see the Razorback attack everyone. So to give that size perspective for the audience to see how big this thing is. So I thought that was pretty cool that I noticed that. And also in the movie Boar, there's a character called Jack, and he's actually it is played by Chris Haywood, who was Benny, one of the crazy country hicks in Razorback. So you could argue whether it was the same guy, because if you look at the age of this guy at the bar and the age of Benny in Razorback, it does add up that he'd be that age now in the movie. So I don't know, you'd try and work that out, but I had a bit of fun thinking that maybe Boar runs in the same universe as Razorback, and that possibly Boar is Razorback's offspring. That was kind of what I took away from it. There could be a chance that Benny and Jack are the same person, and Benny just changed his name to Jack because he was talking about these Razorback attacks and what it does and blah blah blah, and it sounds surprisingly familiar to the movie Razorback. So, or that, like I said, because this is a love letter to Razorback, that the stories are similar to what Jack is telling at the pub. So that's kind of my personal kind of little spin. I think it's the same universe, and that Boar is the offspring of Razorback, terrorizing the town. Cool. So Boar was written by Chris Sun and directed by Chris Sun. Prior to this, he made a movie called Charlie's Farm, and it has two actors. Both the actors in that movie are in this one, and those are Nathan Jones and Bill Moseley. Bill Moseley you would know from The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, and he plays the boyfriend of Debbie, who's the Australian actress Simone Buchan. You'd know her from the Australian audiences would know her from the TV show called Hey Dad in the 80s. She played the older sister, and that was a good show. Yeah, Chris Sun. So he's like I said, the writer and director of Charlie's Farm, which is the Australian equivalent to Jason Voorhees. It's an Australian slasher. I love it as well. It's a fantastic movie, and that's why I'm going to review it on its own. I decided not to review it under the Australian horror banner. I want to chuck it in something else. So that's why I didn't review that, if you were wondering. Done by the Slaughter Effects group, production company. The runtime is an hour and 36 minutes. That's including credits. IMDb, break out the golf clap for this score. 5 out of 10. Jeez Louise. Easily this movie is a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Cool story, IMDb. Released in the US, like I said, late again. So we got it in the 15th of August 2018, and the America didn't get it until the 3rd of December 2019. The reason for that is it done a lot of film festivals before that. By the time the film festival circuit finished and it went on to DVD, the DVD release was the 15th of August, and I don't know why the US got this on the 3rd of December 2018. I mean, that is a massive length of time to finally be released on DVD in the States. That's huge, but I don't know. Well, it is what it is. So the actors in it, it's got a lot of the Australians watching this movie would recognise a lot of the Australian actors in this one. International viewers will recognise John Jarratt in this, and he plays Mick Taylor, and we know Mick Taylor from Wolf Creek. So he's in this movie here. Pretty much dressed up the same as Mick Taylor, like pretty much every Australian farmer looks like this guy. So he's just the nicer version of Mick Mick Taylor in this one. He's not homicidal. He's quite the opposite. He's nice. He's friendly. He's a bit cheeky. Yeah, he's your typical Aussie larrikin farmer in this one, and that's the kind of John Jarratt we like. Nathan Jones, now he plays Bernie. He's an absolute unit, this guy. Now he is Charlie in Charlie's Farm. He's the murderer. He's the big psycho Jason Voorhees guy in Charlie's Farm. He's an ex-WWE wrestler. So this guy's massive. He's 6'11". He's just huge. And he plays Bernie. And so Debbie is going to visit her brother Bernie on their family farm. And so she's bringing the family and her American boyfriend with her, which is played by Bill Moseley. So her kids are Ella and Bart, played by Christy Lee Britton and Griffin Walsh. And Ella's boyfriend has come along. His name's Robert, and he's played by the Australian actor Hugh Sheridan. Now he's an Adelaide actor and singer. He's a good bloke. He always plays a nice guy, and in this one here is an absolute arsehole. So good acting on his part, because he's always played the nice guy. He's a singer, he's friendly, he's whatever, but my God, does he play an absolute piece of work in this one. And good on him. It's a good nod to his acting capabilities to be able to play someone that full on that you just want to punch out every time you see him. So good on him for that. So he's Robert, that's his name. And like I said, they're all going to the farm to see the family. This boar creature is living around this area, and that's why they end up having a confrontation with it, because it's decided to start hunting in that area. The pub owner is Marissa Katz, and her dad is John Jarratt. So we meet Sasha and Ken. And geez Louise, bit of paranormal activity in the rightio. If anyone's watching, can you just light a bit of sage for me? That would be good. Thank you. I'm busy, ghost. Get lost. Anyway, so John Jarratt is the dad, and his mate. Blue is like the colour blue. So for non-Australians watching this, a nickname for a lot of Australian guys is Blue. So that's his nickname. Played by Roger Ward. Now Roger Ward was in Mad Max. He was one of the enforcer guys. He's the big bold guy in Mad Max. He's the big bold guy in this movie now. He's just aged. And he's good. These two, when they get together and they start talking and yelling at each other, they're your typical Australian friends yelling at each other. The dialogue is really out there. So the Australians will recognise it immediately, as this is pretty much how we talk to each other. International viewers can watch this and enjoy it without getting lost in Australianisms and that kind of stuff. I thought that was really good for Chris Sun. He didn't overdo the Aussie accent or the throwing in typical Australian terms for international viewers to understand what's going on, and that's what I liked about it as well. And what I mean by that is, the Australian accent gets ramped, so you got my Australian accent now, And what I mean by a ramped Aussie accent is, go on, like, yeah, it's not bad, like, yeah. Like, they'll start talking like that. And so when the Australians watch other Australians in these movies, we're just going, oh my God, like, and, you know, so the overseas people think, Jesus, that's how they talk, like, you know. So it kind of annoys us Australians when we watch something like that. So that's the one thing I liked about this movie, is that they didn't overdo the Australian accent and that kind of stuff. The Australian viewers also get a bit of enjoyment as well, because we get 2 cameos in this movie. One is the Indigenous actor Ernie Dingo, and so I thought it was really good. He kind of pops up, does his bit, and leaves, and I thought that was quite funny. And he does a bit of a cameo. And Steve Bisley, now his cameo is so quick, it is just hilarious. He's just yelling something from a guy at John Jarratt and Roger Ward's character at the servo, and it's service station, and it's quite funny, and a typical Aussie kind of response. You know, when you see 2 mates, you know, yeah, his cameo is literally that fast. He drives past, yells something at them, and just keeps driving, and that's it. That's his cameo, and I thought that was hilarious. He's a good Australian actor as well, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious that his cameo was that short. So that was good. So basically, the premise of Boar is it pretty much starts off like Razorback, where it attacks like a couple. Like it does attacks in Razorback, and then so we get the idea of what this thing's about, and so then procedurally as the movie goes through, we start to meet all the actors, all the characters in the movie, and then it just pretty much the Boar comes out and starts picking them off, because they're all, because they're on the farm, and the property is so massive. Like, Australian farming properties are very big. You know, they go for acres and acres and acres, and so, you know, this Boar just happens to be in this acreage, and everyone that's camping in these areas just fall victim to it, and it's pretty merciless. It just tears up these young people at a campsite. It tears into a young couple that were camping and hiking through the bush. Then because John Jarratt and Blue go out drinking out in the bush as well, they get attacked as well. So it's just kind of it's indiscriminate, like, and it just, if you're there and it doesn't like you, too bad, you're getting put down. And it's, like I said, it's absolutely massive. And then we get the reveal at the last part of the movie, and it's a big showdown with the family, and it starts to, you know, starts picking people off. So I'm not going to go too much into it, because I will end up spoiling it. So that's why I'm kind of giving this kind of not vague but very circular kind of review around it, because if I do get into the nitty gritty of this film, I will spoil it and you will hate me for it. And if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Boar 2018. I think you can get it. If you got Xbox, you got Microsoft Store, you can buy your videos that way. Your, you know, Sanity in Australia, JB Hi-Fi will have it, and if you're overseas, it would be Amazon, and it will be on eBay as well. And if Shudder, I think Shudder might have it, but yeah. I'm referring to Shudder because they keep saying that Shudder's going to come out to Australia, and it doesn't, and it's driving us nuts. Like, and it's driving me nuts. So I don't know what the deal is. You know, America and Canada have got Shudder. Australia, for some reason, keeps getting promised Shudder, and it just doesn't. It hasn't come out here. And there's plenty of horror fans here in Australia that will put down the money per month for a subscription, for sure. Me included. So yeah, that's the Australian horror special episode. So yeah, Razorback and Boar. I hope you enjoyed the 2 reviews, and that inspires you to go out and watch both movies. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy it, and cool. So later on, I'll be reviewing some other films coming up, and I hope you enjoy those. And if you haven't already yet, just like and subscribe on YouTube. Join the Facebook group with the same name, Adelaide Horror Podcast. And yeah, so a bit of an update as well. I'm in the means of working out the techniques of putting up a podcast together. So that's eventually will end up happening, and that's where I'll take each episode and I'll do a deeper dive into the movies I've been reviewing so far. And yeah, cool. No worries. Thank you very much, and stay scary, stay safe, and I'll see you in the crypt.